Life isn't fair. All right, this is going to be a video on how life isn't fair, and this is somewhat kind of it is somewhat kind of obvious and common sense, right? Life isn't fair. I mean, you don't really need anyone to kind of explain this to you, right? Because life is, it's very obvious that life isn't fair. There's so many ways to explain this, I don't know, but you know, the topic of this video is the topic of this video is about how life isn't fair. All right, so you know, again, there's so many different ways to start this video, but like just to help you think about this. I mean, to give you like some type of easy to understand example to kind of really make you think about this. I don't know, like think about like how, like, you know, just based off how you're born, like the chances that you could have been born with like some type of disability. That, like, think about the chances, right, about like how you were born. Like, if you're watching this video, I would assume, and I would assume that you're not too critically disabled. You know what I mean? You don't have any major problem with your brain and your body. Otherwise, I don't know, you would not be able to kind of operate any type of computer or phone or something like this, to even go on YouTube to watch my videos. I don't know. So think about that. You're not that critically disabled, you know, but what are the chances that you could have been born with some type of disability that was super major and stuff like that, and you could have been born with like some type of critical disability and stuff? I don't know. It's super important to think about this, man. It's all just based off coincidence and stuff. That's so scary, man. It's based off coincidence. It's all based off coincidence and stuff like that. It's so scary to think about it. What are the chances that you could have been born with like some type of major disability? You could have been born with some type of major disability. What are the chances then? You know, that, you know, see, life isn't fair. You know, there are people that are born like with some major disabilities and stuff like that. Their lives are completely ruined just because of how they were born. It wasn't even in their control. Their lives were just ruined because of the fact that they were born with like some type of disability or some type of genetic health problem like Down syndrome or Asperger's or something similar to this. You see what I'm trying to get at? Right? Life isn't fair. Like just based off how you're like just because of like just how you're born, that can determine a lot, right? It's completely out of your control. Like, you could have been born with Down syndrome or something like this, or some other genetic health problem or a disability, and your entire life would have been thrown off. You would have not been as, I guess, as I don't know the exact terminology, but you would have not been as, I don't know, healthy, even capable, right? Your life would have been completely ruined, right, if you were born with some type of major genetic health problem and disability. This perfectly illustrates, right, how life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. It's completely, like, so many things are outside of your control, right? Again, life isn't fair. Just how you're born, that determines a lot, right? What genetics you're dealt with at birth, that determines a lot. If you inherited some type of gene for Down syndrome or something similar to this, I don't know, if you inherited some type of major genetic health problem, your whole life would have been completely ruined, right? I don't know, you see. And you know, there are people that do have, like, that are born with disabilities and stuff like this, and it's not even their fault. They were just born like that. So do you see how life is not fair? Obviously life is not fair. This should be kind of somewhat common sense. I don't even need to kind of stress this a lot. This is sort of common sense. Obviously, I'm talking about like I'm using the example of like disabilities and stuff like this, and people that are born with like disabilities and stuff to kind of you know, to illustrate that life is not fair. You know, people that are born with disabilities, right? Obviously, it's not their fault, but you know, you see, life is not fair. These people that are born with disabilities, it's not their fault, right? They didn't do anything, right? In terms of like morality, like what their actions, they didn't do anything bad. Obviously, they can't do anything bad because they're just born straight from their mother's womb. There's literally babies. You cannot like blame them for anything. You know what I mean? But some people are just born with disabilities at birth. And so you see what I mean? Life is not fair. This illustrates perfectly the fact that life is not fair. So many things are outside of your control. Just how you're born, and also where you're born. Some people are born into like obviously very impoverished third world countries. That's not their fault. They were just born there. They were born into like a very horrible society or something like that. They're poor and impoverished, and they suffer from poverty and stuff like this. That's not their fault. Do you see what I'm trying to get at? Just how you're born and where you're born. These things they're super important, but they're outside of your control. And it's just, life isn't fair. Again, there are people that are born with disabilities. That's not their fault. You know what I mean? Some people are born in like poor third world countries. That's not their fault. You know what I mean? I know it sounds like I'm being kind of stupid, but you know, damn, the wind, man. Life isn't fair. This should be somewhat super. This should be kind of super obvious. Right? It should be super obvious. And obviously, I'm using the examples of disabilities and stuff like that. There's also like how there's like a lot of wealth inequality, right? Again, I mentioned how like some people are born into poor third world countries. You know, wealth inequality is also it's very important in politics and stuff like this. Wealth inequality, that some people are rich and some people are poor, and this is bad. You know, I don't know, but in my opinion, I believe that there would always be like some type of hierarchy like this. That some people would have more riches and stuff like this, and wealth and other things like that, and other people won't have as much, and they'll be more poor and stuff. I think that's just how it is. I think that's just how life shakes out to be, right, and stuff. But anyway, you know, that wealth inequality that's super important in politics and stuff. That's super important in like politics and stuff like that. Wealth inequality, I don't know, in a lot of political discussions, I don't know, there's rich people and there's poor people, and this is like a problem, I don't know. But you know, this also illustrates how life is not fair. Obviously, okay, life isn't fair, but it doesn't have to be unfair. We can do something about this. Can you do something about it? I mean, it seems like this is just like bad. There's rich people and poor people. Well, this wealth inequality. I mean, there's a reason why some people are rich and some people are poor. You know, some people are rich, some people are poor. You know, again, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, these types of very successful entrepreneurs, they created a lot of innovation and they benefited from that. Is that bad? Are they bad people? I don't know. Wealth inequality, like there's a reason that some people are rich and some people are poor. It's not just a coincidence. It's not just because of some type of manipulation of the economy that these rich people, they're just stealing from the poor. It's not like that, man. There's always typically reasons for why some people are rich and some people are poor. These reasons generally are very reasonable as well. I don't know. You know, sometimes, you know, some poor people tend to be like delinquents. I don't know. Obviously, this sounds like I'm being kind of controversial and kind of like mean and kind of harsh. But you know, drug dealers, alcoholics, stuff like this. You know, these types of people, these people they're from a low socioeconomic background. I don't know. There are reasons to explain why some people are poor and why some people are rich, and it's not just because these rich people, they're stealing from the poor. I don't know. Life isn't fair. I'm getting all over the place. I want to get back to the topic and that life isn't fair. Obviously, I use the example that some people are born with disabilities. It's not their fault. You know, this illustrates perfectly that life isn't fair. So many things are outside of your control. Just how you're born, where you're born, that determines a lot, and it's all out of your control. You know, obviously, wealth inequality. Obviously, that can be kind of. I mean, there are some things that. I mean, let's just say you're about to go to like some very to some well-funded university, and you have a potential career that can offer you a lot of money, but you decide to fluke out, and you decide to be a bum, and you decide to just be a poor hobo. You decide to just like do drugs instead of going to university or college or something similar to this, and so you don't get that. You lose the opportunity to get into that like type of high-paying career and stuff. You know, poor. You see what I mean? Wealth inequality. Sometimes it's kind of it's easy to kind of. There you are in it. Sometimes there's the wealth inequality. It's not just because rich people steal from poor people, some stupid stuff like that. It's sometimes poor people. There's a reason like why a lot of poor people are poor, and it's typically you can't blame them. You can blame a lot. I know it sounds like I'm being mean and harsh and somewhat stupid, and obviously this is going to be extremely controversial, and I'm going to get a lot of hate comments, but you can't. I believe you can blame, like sometimes like the decisions you make. Like, again, I'm using the example that, you know, let's just say there's this hypothetical guy. He has the opportunity to go into some type of well-funded university or college and to potentially land himself into some type of high-paying career, and he can be just set for life. But let's just say this hypothetical guy just decides to fluke it, and he decides to drop out of that university or college, and he decides to just take drugs and alcohol and stuff. He decides to just drink alcohol and take drugs and stuff instead of going to this high-paying university and college and potentially landing himself into some type of high-paying career. But he decides, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to drink alcohol and do drugs. You can see why this guy's going to end up a bum, and you can't blame him. Obviously, you can blame him. Some people will be like, oh no, you can't blame him. No, you can't blame him. It's the economy's fault. It's the politics. It's all these other problems that aren't his fault. I don't know. that's you know this is I'm actually this type of this hypothetical I'm using. It seems like it's just like some absurd thing that I'm kind of talking about. But you know, a lot of people are like this. They have the opportunity to become successful and wealthy, but they just fluke out of college or university. They don't really pay attention in school, and so they turn out to be bums. And they deserve that, man. I swear, you deserve it. You deserve what you get in life. I don't know. I don't care about people coming at me and saying, oh, that blah blah blah, this wealth inequality, rich people, poor people. I don't care. I don't care if you think I'm being kind of mean. You deserve what you get in life. I mean, if you're gonna choose to be stupid and not pay attention in school and to drop out of college and university and whatever like that, or school itself, maybe you might even drop out of school, you deserve to be a bum. And you deserve to be poor. And that does this type of thing what I'm talking about. It does explain a lot of the wealth inequality. Explains why some people are rich and some people are poor. A lot of the cases, the poor people typically there's something that you can blame them for. I don't know. I know it sounds like I'm being mean and harsh and stupid. I don't know. But typically, again, this hypothetical guy, right? He went to school, blah blah blah. He could have gone into like some well-funded university or college, and then he could have landed himself into some high-paying career. But he just decided to like to fluke out and to drop out of college and university and just to drink alcohol and take drugs. And now he's a bum and he's a hobo and he doesn't make any money and he's poor. You see what I mean? You deserve what you get in life. And if you're in a first world country, you cannot complain about wealth inequality. You have all the opportunities to be successful. There's no reason why you should not be at least decently wealthy now. There's no reason why you should not have at least some type of decent income coming in, unless you're so incompetent that you can't like land yourself into like any type of job or career. I don't know. It's on you, man. You deserve what you get in life. That you know, this is kind of like a side tangent, you know. But wealth inequality, there are poor people and there are rich people, and this always shakes out to be like this. I don't know. It always shakes out to be like this. I don't know. I know, you know, this relates to obviously communism and stuff like that. I don't know. Karl Marx, the communists, they tried to like kind of bridge this gap between the poor people and the rich people. Actually, maybe I'm being stupid. I'm not really well versed into communism. Maybe I'm just being kind of a dumb guy. But I know that it's kind of like I know that like a little bit of what communism is about. It's about like trying to bridge this gap between poor people and rich people, the bourgeoisie and stuff like that. I don't know. You know, a little bit of what communism is about. It's about trying to bridge this gap between the poor people and rich people. I don't know, but you know, that type of gap. There's a reason why some people are poor and some people are rich. Obviously, I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, you're just being a dumb, harsh, mean guy. You're being stupid." Obviously, actually, you know, maybe in some very. Because sometimes, you know, if you're born into into poverty and stuff like this, and you don't even have the opportunity to go to school or university or college, then okay, fair enough. You might you do have like valid reasons to complain and be angry and stuff like that, and to be like to rage at the world and stuff. I mean, if you're in a first world country and you did have the opportunity to go to school and college and university, but you decided to be dumb and stupid and not really be too caring about any of this, then obviously, and you fluked out and you couldn't land yourself a good high-paying career. That is somewhat your responsibility and fault. But I do. You know, again, the communists, they tried to bridge this gap between poor people and rich people, tried to solve this wealth inequality problem. Obviously, you know how that turned out. You know, obviously, Soviet Russia was kind of very depressing. You cannot bridge this gap between the poor and the rich. There's this type of hierarchy, this wealth inequality is natural, in my opinion. I believe it is natural. I believe there's always going to be winners and losers and stuff like that. There's always going to be winners and losers and stuff like that. You cannot like complain about this at all. There's going to be winners and losers and stuff. You can't complain about that. Can't complain about that. There's always gonna be winners and losers. You can't complain about that. You can't complain about that. There's gonna be winners and losers and stuff like that. There's gonna be winners and losers. You can't complain about that. You're right. There's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. You cannot complain about this, man. This wealth inequality problem. I know that's a little bit about what communism is about. Like, the communists, they tried to bridge this gap between the poor and the rich. I don't know. You can see how well that turned out in Soviet Russia. Soviet Russia was super depressing. I don't want to even talk about this too much because this is kind of like a side tangent. But, you know, life isn't fair. You know, people are born with disabilities. Sometimes people are like, just how you're born and where you're born, that determines a lot. Right? You know what I mean? Just how you're born and where you're born, that determines quite a lot. And also wealth inequality. You know, there are rich people and there are poor people, and this is just how it is. There's always going to be winners and losers and stuff like this. This is somewhat natural, and you cannot bridge this gap. The communists, they tried to do this. Don't you remember? Like look at like Soviet Russia. Didn't they did try to do this. They tried to bridge the gap between the poor and the rich, and what happened? Everyone got the same amount of money. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm just being stupid. I'm not really too well versed on Soviet Russia and communism and stuff like this. I'm just gonna I just have a very basic understanding of these types of things. But you know, the communists, didn't they try to like bridge this gap between the poor and the rich? That didn't work out so well. Look at Soviet Russia. Look at the amount of people that starved to death and stuff like that, and had famines. Like, it's just this. You cannot fight nature, because they're in the natural world. There are losers and there are winners and stuff. You cannot go against this, man. There are always going to be like losers and winners and stuff. And that's kind of, again, a side tangent. But you know, again, and obviously life isn't fair. People are born with disabilities. Some people are born into poor third world countries. That's not their fault. Is that their fault? No, not really. And again, there are rich people and there are poor people. The communists, they tried to bridge this gap between the poor and the rich. What happened? Soviet Russia, what happened in, you know, we all know what happened in Soviet Russia. Actually, I'm being kind of dumb. No, we don't all know. I'm just being a dumb guy. But you know, you can kind of research about what happened. I don't know. You can see what happened, right? Look, the communists, they tried to bridge this gap between the poor and the rich. What happened? You can kind of do some research on that. It wasn't very pretty. There was a lot of dead people. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know. I don't want to, again, waste too much time on this. This is a side tangent, but you know, there are poor people and there are rich people. You know, why is this? This is how things shake out. There are winners and losers. That's just how things shake out in this world we're living in. So there are winners and losers. You can't fight against this. You cannot struggle against. This is just nature. This is somewhat natural. I don't know. Actually, I'm talking about life isn't fair. Let's go and jump to the natural world now. Let's kind of focus on the Let's kind of analyze the natural world, you know, in nature and stuff. You know, the predators, they typically just hunt the prey down and it just consume their corpses. Is that, you know, that's not fair. Is that fair? No, it isn't fair. There's a lot of rape and violence in nature, you know, you know, because it's always nature. When I'm discussing nature, you always think about like a peaceful green yard filled with kittens and puppies and stuff like this, and flowers and I don't know, and other stuff that makes you feel comforted and happy and stuff. But you know, nature's, there you are. Nature is super violent. Nature is ruthless. There's rape and violence in nature. So many animals. Do you know the amount of animals? I think I think that nearly all non-human animals rape. As obviously humans, we are animals, but that's why I'm saying non-human animals. Also, you know, us humans, we rape as well. You know, isn't that kind of funny? We've been raping. Like, rape is like a part of our history. Isn't that kind of funny? And violence and genocides and all these types of things, it's all a part of our history and stuff. Even our recent modern age, there's still these things still go on in our societies and stuff, in a bunch of different societies and cultures around the world. Anyway, I don't want to get into that too much. Nature, look at nature. Like, life isn't fair. You can just look at the natural world. Predators hunt down prey and consume their corpses. Is that fair? No, it isn't. So many different non-human animals rape and kill each other. Is that fair? No. And all this type of this fairness, like, it's always, I don't know where it came from, this type of this egalitarianism and stuff like that, this type of belief that life has to be fair. We all deserve the same, like, I guess, I mean, I do agree with that as well. I do agree with like a lot of the egalitarian, which to kind of give you like a basic definition of what egalitarian means, it's basically like that, we're all equal and stuff like that. We all deserve the chance to be like happy and stuff, I don't know, and become successful. I do agree with that. I mean, life isn't fair. Life is not equal. Life is inherently unequal. There are winners and losers. There are people born with disabilities, and some people are born with like the genetic lottery. I don't know, they win the genetic lottery. They're super tall, muscular, strong, intelligent. They just win the genetic lottery. It's not fair. Some people, there's like midgets with Down syndrome, and there's like tall chads with like Einstein's brain power. You know what I mean? That's not fair. Is that fair? No, it isn't fair, because life isn't fair. And you have to get that in your head, that life is not fair. There are poor people, there are rich people. This is just how it is. You cannot complain about this. If you complain about it, you're just gonna not really, you're gonna be delusional. It's just how it is. There are midgets with Down syndrome, and then there are tall people with Einstein's brain power, tall chads with Einstein's. Yeah, I'm picture like, I don't know, like the Batman, you know, like Batman, Bruce Wayne. I don't know, some tall guy. He's very muscular. He has a high intellect, high intelligence, etc. Is that fair? Is it fair that some people are born with Down syndrome and there are midgets and stuff? No, it's not fair. Is that fair? I don't know. That's not fair, is it? Is that fair that there are midgets born with Down syndrome, and there's like tall chads with good muscles and stuff like that, with very strong muscles and stuff, and they're super intelligent and tall, and they're very attractive to women and stuff? Is that fair? Obviously that's not fair. and there's like midgets with Down syndrome, they're not going to be appealing at all. Obviously, you know, the black pill, also this kind of relates to the black pill, right? Life isn't fair. You know, if you're a midget born with Down syndrome, how are you going to self-improve? Tell me, how are you going to self-improve? Are you going to start lifting weights just to improve your little midget Down syndrome arms? No, you're not. You know, Hamza Ahmed, this, you know, he like self-improvement and stuff like that. You know, how are you going to, if you're a midget born with Down syndrome, how are you going to self-improve? Tell me that. How are you going to self-improve? If you're literally a midget born with Down syndrome, how are you going to improve? You can't improve. Self-improvement, you know, it only works if you're somewhat decent and average. You know, if you're a midget born with Down syndrome, you know, you're not going to be attractive to anyone, no matter how much exercising you do, no matter how hard you train your body and your mind. If you can even do that because you're a midget with Down syndrome, come on. I wonder if how many midgets would. I actually wonder this. How many midgets are there that are born with Down syndrome? Tell me about this. I don't, in the comments. I don't know. But you know, life isn't fair. Again, there are people born with disabilities. There are poor people and rich people. That's just how it is. You cannot complain about this. There are winners, losers. That's life, man. You can't complain about it. You know, in nature, in the natural world, the predators hunt down the prey and eat their corpses. Is that fair? No, it isn't. Life isn't fair. Our world is inherently unfair. Again, you know, the wealth inequality thing, which is super important in politics. You know, there are poor people and rich people. The communists, again, they tried to like bridge this gap between the poor and the rich. What happened in Soviet Russia, man? What happened in Soviet Russia? There were like a lot of dead people in Soviet Russia. You know what I mean? You can kind of do some research about what happened in like Soviet communist Russia and stuff, because and Russia and also China as well, because the Chinese were trying communism as well. You can see what happened. Right? Life is not fair, man. There are poor people, rich people, winners, losers. There are people that are blessed that win the genetic lottery, and they're super blessed and they're tall, super attractive, muscular, with the best brain power and intelligence and stuff. And there are midgets with Down syndrome and stuff like this. Life isn't fair, man. You gotta get that into your head. You cannot be delusional. You cannot be delusional and stupid and kind of not really accept this, because there are a lot of delusional people, and they cannot accept that life isn't fair. They cannot accept that, man. They hate it. They hate this, man. They hate that there's like so much inequality and stuff like this, that there are winners and losers and rich people and poor people, and now there are like tall people, tall chads and midgets with Down syndrome and stuff, and they hate this. They want to just fight against this type of inequality. But it's important to understand and realize that life is just not fair. There are poor people, rich people, winners, losers, midgets with Down syndrome, and super tall, attractive chads with high intelligence. I don't know. You gotta accept this. You cannot fight against this. This is just how it is. This is just how the world is. You cannot complain or fight against this. There are winners, losers, poor people, rich people, midgets with Down syndrome, and tall, attractive chads with super high intelligence. That's just how it is. And it's completely, it is to some extent outside of your control. Again, midgets with Down syndrome, like if you're a midget with Down syndrome, that's not your fault. That you're a midget with Down syndrome and you're so retarded and unattractive, that's not your fault. That's not your fault. Oh. It's not your fault. That's not your fault, is it? That's not your fault if you're a midget with Down syndrome. See, life isn't fair. There are people again born with disabilities. That's not their fault. There are people that are born into poor third world countries. That's not their fault. Life is just not fair, man. There are winners, losers, poor people, rich people. I'm kind of going over the same points, but I'm trying to, you know what I'm trying to get at, right? Life is not fair. That's the topic of this video, right? That life is not fair. Life isn't fair at all. You can't complain about this. This is how it is. And to some extent, it's outside of your control as well. Life isn't fair. Don't be stupid. Don't try and kind of be delusional and not accept this reality that life is not fair. Life isn't fair. We all have different advantages and strengths and weaknesses. We're not all equal. That's just how it is. Damn. Ooh. There are winners, losers, poor people, rich people, and obviously there's also people born with disabilities. There are midgets with Down syndrome, and then there are like people that win the genetic lottery. They're super tall, attractive, and smart, and it's not even because of their own like free will and the personal accomplishments, etc. It's completely out of their control. If you're a midget with Down syndrome, that's not your fault. That's out of your control. So many things are outside of our control, like how you're born, where you're born, right? All of these things completely outside of our control. Again, life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. You gotta accept that reality, this very sad reality that life isn't fair. Yo, you there? Yeah. You alright? Life isn't fair and stuff like that. You gotta accept that, man. that life isn't fair. You gotta accept this type of very sad reality. You gotta accept this very sad reality. Yo, check this out, man. What's that? Is that gas installation? There we are. Life isn't fair. Life isn't fair, man. You gotta accept that. You can't be delusional. Don't be a moron. Don't be a dumb, stupid guy or girl. Oh, life isn't fair. Life has to be fair, obviously. I do agree with the egalitarians. Well, first of all, what is egalitarian? That is people that like believe in equality. They want all people to have like the same chances to be successful and happy and wealthy and blah blah blah. I do agree with that. I do believe that we all should have the same opportunities and stuff, but life just isn't fair. You can't complain that there are winners and losers, poor people and rich people, people born with disabilities and like midgets with Down syndrome and stuff, and then there are like tall, attractive chads that win the genetic lottery and they're super smart and intelligent. You cannot complain about this. Just because life is not fair. We humans, we've been trying to kind of like, actually, especially specifically maybe Western Europe. In Western Europe, there's been like this type of attempt to kind of get rid of a lot of the inequalities in our world. It's very hard to do this because it's just natural. It's just how things are in this world. And the communists as well in Soviet Russia, they tried to like bridge the gap between poor people and rich people. But what happened? It just all felt. Everything just went to shit. You know, everything went to shit. You know what I mean? There were a lot of dead people in communist Soviet Russia and stuff, and Soviet China as well. I mean, maybe the Chinese Soviets now, I don't know about that. Maybe like communist China, I don't know. Again, I'm pulling things off the top of my head, right? I know, especially again in Western Europe, there's been this massive attempt to kind of like to struggle against all of the inequality in our world and stuff. It's somewhat admirable. I don't know. It is somewhat admirable, but it's also somewhat delusional. You can't struggle against this inequality, man. It's just natural. Life is just life isn't fair. Life is unfair. Life is just completely it's just unfair. It isn't what we want it to be. You cannot argue or struggle against this and complain about this and stuff like that. Life isn't fair. You cannot be delusional and not accept this unfortunate reality that life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. You cannot be delusional. You cannot be delusional about this, that life isn't fair. It's not what we want it to be. There are, again, poor people, rich people, people born with disabilities, midgets with Down syndrome, and then there are like tall, attractive chads that have like super high intelligence. And then there are like what else? There's like poor people born in third world countries, again, poor and rich people. I don't know, winners, losers. You know what? I already kind of talked about this a lot. Life isn't fair. You cannot complain about this. That's just how things are. That's how the world we're living in is. You know, and if you look at the natural world, the predators, you know, there are predators and then there are prey. The predators, like these kind of like these very like in terms of like nature, they're like very sophisticated killing machines. They're like organisms that are designed to kill and eat other organisms. I don't know, and they do it very I guess they do that a lot in nature. I don't know. Predators and prey. The predators hunt down the prey and eat their corpses. Is that fair? The prey, you know, like a gazelle doesn't want to be chowed down by a lion. That's not fair. The gazelle feels a lot of pain when it gets torn into by some like ferocious large lion that has like these scary big teeth and sharp claws. That's not fair. That's not fair. Is that fair? No, it isn't. That's not fair. You know, predators hunting down prey in the wild, is that fair? No, it isn't. The gazelle or other type of, or any other type of prey animal doesn't want to be mauled to death by some other huge, scary claw teeth, big claw teeth looking thing. I don't know. They don't want to be munched on by some other creature. But that's how things are. That's the natural world for you. I don't know. There are predators and prey. The predators hunt down and consume the corpses of their prey animals. I don't know, the prey animals, blah blah. I'm kind of mumbling with my words. I gotta be more concise. You know, but you know what I'm trying to get at, right? Life isn't fair. You gotta just accept that you cannot be against this type of this very unfortunate reality, right? That life isn't fair. There are winners, there are losers, poor people, rich people, people born with disabilities, again, midgets with Down syndrome, and then there are like people that win the genetic lottery, tall, attractive chads. with super high intelligence, man. You can't. It seems like you just this it just shouldn't be the way it. This shouldn't be like. This shouldn't be this should not be acceptable and stuff. I don't know, but it's just how things are. Life isn't fair. Winners, losers, poor people, rich people, midgets born with Down syndrome, and tall, attractive chads with superhuman intelligence. Yo. That's gonna. Life isn't fair. You cannot argue against this. This is just how it is. There are winners, losers, poor people, rich people, midgets born with Down syndrome, and tall, attractive chads with superhuman intelligence and stuff like this. That's just how things are. This is how life is. Life isn't fair. And it's all out of our control. You know, again, the communists, they tried to bridge this gap between the poor and the rich. What happened in Soviet Russia? What happened in communist Russia? The poor people, they're like, I mean, I don't know, poor, not just the poor, like, there was like, I don't know, there were like a lot of dead people in communist Soviet Russia, right? Well, why is this? The communists, they did try and attempt to bridge this gap between the poor and the rich, but what happened in Soviet Russia and communist Russia? There were a lot of dead people, man. Why is that? You should kind of really do some research about that. You should do some research about that. I don't know, but I don't want to kind of waste too much time on that. Hey, yo. 10 minutes, man. Just 10 minutes left. Come on, man. Do some research. Do some research on communist Russia. That's what happens when you try and like get rid of this inequality. Like everything, the whole system just falls apart and collapses because it's just nature just isn't fair, man. You cannot fight against this inequality. You look, the communists tried to bridge the gap between the poor and the rich. What happened in communist Soviet Russia? Do some research on that. There were a lot of dead people in communist Soviet Russia, and even in communist China. Do some research on what happened in like a lot of different communist countries. The amount of dead people that starved to death, and blah blah blah. What happened to like the economic development of communist Soviet Russia? You can see what happens, man, when you try and fight against this type of inequality. This is how things are, man. Life isn't fair. You cannot complain about this. That's how it is. You cannot complain about this. You cannot fight against this type of inequality. Life isn't fair. You know, there are poor people, rich people, people born with disabilities, again, midgets with Down syndrome, and then there are tall, attractive chads with superhuman intelligence. And obviously then there are then there are then there are, I don't know, there's like other, like, again, winners and losers and stuff like this. I don't want to kind of waste too much time on this, man. I don't want to waste too much time on this. You know, winners, losers, poor people, rich people, midgets born with Down syndrome, and, you know, other people with disabilities, and then there are like super tall, attractive chads with superhuman intelligence. I don't want to waste too much time on this, but, you know, yo, come on, 10 minutes, man. Alright, I don't want to waste too much time on this. Life isn't fair. Look at the natural world. Predators and prey. The predators hunt down and consume the corpses of the prey. You know, lions munch down and chow on gazelles and stuff like that. Life isn't fair. That's just how it is. Life isn't fair. You cannot complain about this. I don't know. Obviously, you know, again, this inequality, especially in Western Europe, there has been like this type of attempt. There has been this kind of attempt to kind of get rid of a lot of this inequality, especially in Western Europe. But, you know, it sort of is kind of impossible to get rid of like this type of inequality, this type of hierarchy, and, like, you know, that there are winners and losers, poor people and rich people, people born with disabilities, like midgets with Down syndrome, and there are people that win the genetic lottery. There's like super tall, attractive chads with superhuman intelligence. You cannot you can't really fight against this type of inequality. You cannot fight against this type of inequality. Again, the communists, they try to bridge the gap between the poor and the rich. You can do some research on like communists and what happened in like Russia, communist Russia, Soviet Russia, and obviously also communist China, and, you know, China as well. You can do some research on what happened into these types of places that the communists ruled in and stuff. When they tried to like bridge the gap between the poor and the rich, it didn't work out, man. The entire system collapsed and everything just went horribly wrong and stuff. I just really, I do encourage you to do some research onto like onto kind of like the history of like all of these different places and countries that used to be under communist rule. Just see what happens when you try and get rid of this inequality. Right? It goes very wrong. It goes horribly wrong. I don't know. Life isn't fair. That's just kind of somewhat unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but that's just how things are in life. Life is just like very unfortunate. Life is unfair. Life isn't what we want it to be. You know, again, in Western Europe, there has been this like attempt to do away with this inequality, and again, which is kind of admirable. I do to some extent agree with the egalitarians and stuff. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. You know, things should just be there shouldn't be any type of inequality or anything like that. Like people, they should not have this like any type of like it should like there's the you know, inequality, like this should not just be the norm, you know. I don't know, but it's just how things are. I don't know, that's just how life is. Life isn't fair, which is very sad and depressing, but I don't know, you can't really complain too much about this because it's just how things are in our world, right? You can't complain about it, and there's nothing you can do to struggle against this inequality. You cannot struggle against this. I don't know, you cannot fight against this. I don't know. Just look at what happened in all of these different countries and places where the communists ruled. They tried to bridge the gap between the poor and the rich. It didn't work out so well. It all went horribly wrong. It didn't work out so well. You could do some research about that. I don't know. Didn't work out so well. It all went horribly wrong. It all went horribly wrong. I don't know. You can do some research about that. I don't know. I do encourage you, actually, if you want to properly understand what I'm talking about, to kind of do some research on Soviet Russia, communist Russia. See what happened when the communists, they tried to like bridge the gap between the poor and the rich. See what happened in like communist Soviet Russia. It wasn't pretty, man. It wasn't very pretty. Communist China. Do some research on what happened to the people in I don't know, to the people in communist Russia and communist China, Soviet Russia. I don't know if the Chinese were Soviets. I don't know. Do some research on what happened to like all these different types of people in these places and countries that the communists ruled in. It wasn't pretty, man. You cannot, like, life isn't fair. You gotta have to just accept this. It's just how things are. Life isn't fair. There's no way you can kind of there's no way you can struggle against this or to kind of fight against this. Life isn't fair. I don't know. It's kind of sad, but I don't know. I think it's kind of also a little bit funny. It is very, very sad, but it's kind of also very funny because, you know, again, life isn't fair. Some people are born with disabilities, midgets with Down syndrome, and then there are tall, attractive chads with superhuman intelligence that won the genetic lottery. That's not fair. There are poor people and there are rich people. That's not fair. There are winners and losers. That's not fair. There's predators and prey. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. It's not. I don't really have a lot more to say now. Life isn't fair. You cannot fight against this inequality. The communists tried this, right, in communist Soviet Russia, or even in communist China and these other places and countries where the communists ruled in. There was like this, they tried to bridge this gap between the poor and the rich. It didn't work out so well. You cannot fight against this inequality and this stuff. You cannot fight and struggle against this inequality. It's impossible, and things will go horribly wrong if you do try to struggle against this type of this inequality, you know, and then the unfortunate reality that life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. You cannot complain about that. You cannot complain about that.
Oh man, hurry up, man.
You cannot complain about that. I only got 2 minutes, 1 minute left. You cannot complain about that. Life isn't fair. There are poor people, rich people. There are people born with disabilities, midgets with Down syndrome, and then there are people that win the genetic lotteries, tall, attractive chads with superhuman intelligence. You can't complain about that, man. Winners and losers, predators and prey, you cannot complain about that. You cannot complain about this, man. Life isn't fair. You just gotta accept that. You just gotta accept that. I don't know. Midgets with Down syndrome, tall, attractive, superhuman chads. That's not fair. Poor people. That's not poor people. Like people, there are poor people born in third world countries. That's not fair. There are rich people that have that live so comfortably that they don't even have to move their finger to get food. That's not fair. But that's just life. Life isn't fair, and you just gotta accept that. You cannot be delusional. You cannot be stupid about this. Life isn't fair. You gotta accept that. Again, the communists, they tried to bridge this gap between the poor and the rich. It didn't go so well. You know, life isn't fair. Life isn't fair, man. You just gotta accept that. Life isn't fair. There are poor people, rich people. There are people born with disabilities, again, midgets with Down syndrome, and then there are tall, attractive chads with superhuman intelligence. There are winners, losers, predators, and prey. Oh, I can keep going on and on about this. You know, life isn't fair. You just gotta accept this. Hopefully you do think about everything I've said in this video very properly. You know, life isn't fair. You gotta accept that as well.